Yo, what's up, guys, and welcome to the Movie Newbie. My name's Jibril Sahimi, and I am the newbie.
Oliver Mangum, writer, producer, fellow film lover, occasionally capable of insight.
Raphael Lucas, thespian, cinephile, and human golden retriever.
So yeah, enjoy the show.
Yo, what's up? And we are back again for another episode of the Movie Newbie. I'm your host, Jibril Sahimi, and I'm joined by Raf and Ollie. But also, we have a special guest for this one.
It's your girlfriend.
Yes, for episode 80. We have Lorna Searl, editor at Trim, who is a freaking awesome editor. Yeah, and she's also my girlfriend. She does a lot of short films and advertisements, and she's also a very big cinephile, and she also does photography. And how about you just speak?
Thank you for the introduction.
Great intro.
Yeah, I'm Lorna.
Hi,
I am
Lorna.
a video editor in London, and I'm also Jibril's sugar mama, I suppose.
There it is.
Peeling back the layers on this relationship.
Yeah.
Wow. A deep dive.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this more than talk about Rage and Bull, shall we?
Yeah.
She finances
This is
the
our
podcast.
relationship podcast.
Finally, we got a producer. Season 4. That's why we got renewed.
All right. Well, for this one, we are doing Raging Bull. This is our first episode of our boxing theme. And yeah, so shall we start with a few initial thoughts or like what stood out to you the most for this one? How about we start with our lovely guest, Lorna?
Yeah, I didn't know the film was going to be in black and white. That was a bit of a shocker, and I thought it was great.
Was this your first time seeing it?
Yes. I only learned about the film a month ago, which is kind of bad actually. But yeah, it was such a horrible film, the themes,
Yeah.
but it was so beautiful.
Yeah.
Like the fighting scenes, I think since it was black and white, it was so beautiful. You kind of didn't really know if it was like water or blood or sweat, and the smoke as well. And I think some of the scenes were quite dramatic with the boxing. It was very a black background. So it was very kind of abstract. And I don't know, I thought, that was quite a surprise. Because obviously with fighting, you see so much red, the blood and the gloves and all this kind of stuff. So I was really
the Rocky
damn.
colors.
Yeah. So that was cool that it was black and white.
Yeah.
Nice. What about you, Ollie?
This is only my second time seeing this film. But I was really excited to go back and revisit it because I hadn't seen it since I was in high school. I think this was one of those films that my older brother Josh told me I had to watch when I was a young teenager. I remember he went on a school trip to Malaysia and picked up a bunch of fake DVDs, and a lot of them were bona fide classics, and he brought them home and we'd watch them up in his room every weekend. And we watched Raging Bull. And I remember really enjoying it, but finding it to be incredibly depressing. And so it was one of those films that I knew was great, but I never revisited it because it just didn't seem like a fun hang of a movie. I revisited it. And even though I still think it's one of the ultimate feel bad movies, I absolutely loved it. I mean, it really did refresh my mind on this is a magnum opus. This is one of Scorsese's best. And I think in a way, even though it's held up as such a classic, it's kind of underappreciated in his canon. Again, I think that's probably because it's not quite as fun or vivacious as films like Goodfellas, or it's not a rewatchable. Exactly. But yeah, I absolutely loved it. The boxing scenes in particular, you're spot on, Lorna. I think the color grading adds this otherworldly quality to it. It's almost like they're in the afterlife, but you don't know if it's heaven or if it's hell. And it's so beautiful. I thought the sound design really stuck out to me. I think the sounds, you probably appreciate this as an editor working with sound and image all the time, but the sort of Foley tracks that they would put into those boxing scenes, sometimes it'd be almost the sound of a door closing every time the boxing glove was coming in. And it's ugly, it's really violent. I have a pretty strong stomach for some of this stuff, but the amount of split foreheads, gushing blood, just. But yeah, I thought it was a stunning achievement, really well acted. But we're going to get into all that soon. So nice. Yeah, really liked it.
Yeah. I mean, with Ollie on this one, I think it is Martin Scorsese's magnum opus. I think it's his greatest achievement, and this was in 1980, right, when he was just about to kind of give up Hollywood, like you said.
Yeah, it's right after he had an overdose.
Which is the only reason he took on this film.
Yeah, so it was an incredible achievement. And I think it has this like beautiful French New Wave aesthetic, which he's a big fan of. I think one of his favorite films being Vive sa vie. It really has that, obviously black and white impression, but that French New Wave aesthetic, which I love. And as grim and as hard and harrowing as it is to watch, there's something, like you said, Lorna, quite beautiful about it, which is why it's alluring. And for me as an actor, this is one of the greatest, performances on screen, displayed on screen by not only one of the greatest actors of all time, but one of the greatest, directors also, and that greatest, that great duo between Martin and Robert De Niro that went on for many decades. And it is in my list of like greatest performances, especially greatest transformation performances, going along with Monster with Charlize Theron, Ray with Jamie Foxx. And then The Fighter with Christian Bale. It's just a transformative performance that it's utterly captivating as an actor. I'm
to
like,
the point
how?
where De Niro almost died, I think.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah. Like Scorsese had to basically shorten production because of how unhealthy Robert De Niro was getting.
When he was putting on the weight.
When he was putting on the weight,
Incredibly dangerous. I mean, you can tell, like you can see the amount of weight that he's just gained towards the end of the film. It's like, wow, that does look quite unhealthy.
Didn't he go to Italy for like 2 months and just...
Yeah,
and then he came back.
I read that too, and I was like, that guy knows how to do that. He's like, if I have to put on weight for a film, I'm not just going to sit at home and eat Haagen-Dazs. I'll just do a tour of like Italy, eating wherever I want to. I was like, perfect.
Yeah.
Plus, he like spent a lot of time there for The Godfather, so I'm sure he knows the spots as well.
And he probably gets those mad connections in Italy. People probably love him. Right. So.
Roberto. But yeah, I think what stood out to me, it's strange that you said the sound design, because like I found it a little bit jarring at certain points, or maybe it was the version that
I think that's
watched.
intentional, probably, but
There was like bits where like the sound didn't match and stuff for me. But what stood out the most was the time jumps, like the going forward in time. For a few times, I was like, was it back in time? Was it forward in time? Like. Yeah, they like show the screens and they're like, here's the fight and this is what happens. But there are moments where I was kind of confused as to, not confused, but just questioning where they were in the plot.
Yeah.
Like with especially with like Vicky's character and his interactions with Vicky. Like it was just strange. So that was what stood out to me, I guess. But initial thoughts, I love this movie. It was great. With the black scene, like not the black scenes, but the black like the fighting.
Yeah.
Sure. How it was like black backgrounds, you can't really see a crowd. So Jabe analogy coming in. Do you know in Harry Potter where they're looking at the newspaper?
I thought it was going to be a Milner.
No, it's not. So do you know in the Harry Potter movies where they're in the newspaper, right? And they have like bits of the newspaper that are like moving images. I guess it's because I'm playing Hogwarts Legacy. But that's what those fight scenes reminded me of. Like those, like it was like the black and white of those.
Back at the movie newbie.
Yeah, now it's a newbie.
No,
I replaced you.
It reminds me of the Harry Potter scenes.
Well, the thing is, right, the color grading and the reason why it was made in black and white is so it could be as accurate as possible to what Scorsese wanted it to look like, at least the nostalgic feeling of it, right? So if at the time of like from the 40s to the 60s, you're not watching boxing on the TV, you're looking at it through the newspaper and you're seeing the articles being printed on there, and then you can see it as the movie goes along, it kind of changes a little bit, at least I think like aura of the fights.
Each boxing scene has its own visual grammar in a sense. I feel like he was trying to do something different with each boxing fight. They're not just sort of carbon copies of each other. There's a different sort of techniques employed in each boxing match, which I think if you're going to do a boxing movie, you might as well do that, right?
Yeah. Well, I read somewhere that it was like, I think he actually would make the boxing ring smaller and smaller for every kind of fight to really intensify it. So like, because I read that like Martin Scorsese wasn't actually a big fan of boxing at all. So for him, it wasn't about boxing. It was obviously all about like outside the ring kind of thing.
Yeah, characterization
or just like any sort of life's work, I suppose.
Yeah, or just like the development of his character and how like he just gets so fucked up.
Yeah.
It really is the tragedy of Jake LaMotta. Like for me, it was like a Shakespearean tale about the tragedy of this corrupted man.
The Richard III reference they have.
Yeah, of course.
In one of his monologues.
Yeah.
Kind of applies there.
Of course.
Yeah. So shall we get to the favorite scene?
Let's do it.
Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
Who wants to go first?
Lorna? Or do you want us to go first to get an impression of like...
I'll go first.
Yeah,
Don't worry.
yeah.
I mean,
You
I
got
have
this, you got
like
this.
several favorite scenes, so maybe I can say a couple. And then
Yeah. Honorable mentions. Yeah, for sure.
I think like my instinct was like when it was kind of maybe like midway through the film, and I think like, so I can never remember anyone's characters' names.
Joe Pesci? Robert De Niro?
Robert De Niro's
Jake
character
LaMotta,
was chatting with his brother. I think they were in like the pool area scene and they were kind of inside and it was raining.
Oh, yeah.
But when they were like showing the brother, it wasn't raining. And then we were cutting to Robert. It was like filming from outside and it was pouring down with rain. And I was like, oh, like small things like that. You're just like, why didn't I just film it inside the hut? But you're just like, oh, it's just so cool that they've just kind of like done these extra little things. And the whole kind of pool area I thought was quite nice because obviously that's when you meet like Vicky.
Yeah, Jake LaMotta, yeah.
And all this kind of stuff. And like the fact that she's, I don't know, I feel like she's kind of quite connected to like water in like the film, which is kind of weird. And I'm like, is that meant to be a metaphor for like her? And like, I don't know, this whole kind of like, yeah, I don't know.
That's interesting.
And that was kind of cool, I thought. But that was like small little moments. And even just like when he's asking her out for the first time, I think she's inside the pool area, like through the fence.
Yeah.
And I thought that was super nice. And the fact that like they're kind of just going in and out of this kind of cage shot.
Yes.
And it's kind of like already like foreshadowing like what the fuck's
yeah, true. It's a metaphor. Yeah. Wow.
And I wonder, like, there's a later scene, and one of my favorite scenes is when he takes her back to his father's house or his father's apartment. Yeah. And he's giving her the tour, and I love it because it's just like the worst tour ever, and it's quite funny. He's like, there's a bird in the cage. There's a dead bird. It used to be alive. Yeah. But I wonder if that, I mean, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but you just mentioned the cage. I wonder if like she's meant to be the caged bird in a way.
Yeah, definitely.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But just to add, like, the actual person, Vicky LaMotta, like she had a huge influence in the development of this movie, and so did Jake. But the person that didn't was Joey, the brother,
right?
And so they actually used like Jake's friend as so Jake's friend was actually the one who was managing Jake LaMotta in real life, but they used a lot of his characteristics and put it on Joey just to make the brother.
They wanted that sort of tragic,
that relationship,
sibling relationship depicted on screen.
So is that the only scene?
I mean, I have more, but I'm gonna
that's the one that stands
give
out.
you guys a chance, and maybe I'll pitch in with yours.
I mean, I can go. I have a few because this film is just littered with great moments. But I think I'm going to give it to the intro. I'm a sucker for like intros, so it just really it kickstarts the film, and it's what's the the first 10 minutes will grab you. So I think that like musical score, and it's a beautiful soundtrack. This film has a beautiful soundtrack, and this really introduces that. And also, it's just like this is just an artistic ass film, and the intro
was the intro in slow mo? I think it was. Right? There's quite a lot of slow mo in the film, which is
and it's like him like shadow boxing on his own in the ring.
And then you can see the way he moves. It's like he actually went on to be like a contender.
Well, he competed.
He competed. Yeah. So it's like, and you can see by the way he moves, by the way he, and it's like, man, this is this is like a full committed performance, not only in terms of physicality but transformation and what he did for this role. To get that golden statue. But it just beautifully depicts what the film is, this like kind of beautiful like opus. This classical tale of a man and his fall from grace.
Yeah, great choice.
Nice.
I think I actually had a harder time, I think, than you guys picking out scenes, not because I didn't like any of the scenes, but it just felt like all like a continuous piece. Like scenes didn't stand out because I think not many scenes necessarily have incidents that progress the story. It felt like you're just sort of watching these characters in their habitat, sort of existing. At least that's how it felt to me. But I went with it was the scene after he takes the fall for the mob. And
he's crying.
Where he's crying and he's just like sobbing. I think in maybe one of his trainer's arms.
Yeah, so in real life it was his dad. So the old guy it's supposed to be his dad.
Okay,
in
well
real
let's
life,
say maybe his dad then, and he's just like sobbing hysterically. It's the first time we've seen him sort of that emotional or that quote unquote vulnerable on screen. Yeah. And what I loved about it was that you have the I think like one of the trainers or someone from their ring is trying to keep the press out of the room.
That's supposed to be the dad in real life, but in the movie, it's just the coach.
Okay, well, because like I just love that. I feel like, especially back then, Scorsese liked to cast a lot of non-professional actors. I mean, Joe Pesci being one of them himself, but that just looked like such when the coach just starts breaking down, seeing Jake LaMotta break down. Yeah, it felt. I was like, that's the sort of thing you can't really get from a professional actor most of the time, anyway. And I just thought it was so beautiful and heartbreaking. Yeah, so I love that scene. Yeah,
and even choice. Like when he like slams the door on the reporters
but he's
trying
like
to
still,
get in.
But he was like holding back the tears at the same time.
Yeah. So for me, it's a toss up between two scenes that I guess are quite similar. The first one is when he goes to jail and he's like just fucking
hammering away.
It's a horrible scene.
Unbelievable,
but just like beautifully orchestrated,
the shadows and the lighting,
the shadows,
the
lighting.
and
kind of reminded me of that. What's that noir movie that we did with Orwell?
Oh, the Third Man.
The Third Man. The shadows, the way it was cast and everything.
That sort of chiaroscuro lighting they call it.
Okay.
What?
Chiaroscuro.
Okay. That,
like an Italian phrase,
that kind of thing. It was really cute. Keel.
It was really
cool beans. No.
It was cool beans. It reminded me of Harry Potter.
So it was
My boyfriend's so lame.
Yeah, it was. When Sirius was locked up in the tower
in Azkaban.
So, which of the Harry Potter films would you compare this most to? Is this like an Azkaban, or is it like the Chamber of Secrets?
I would say this is like the video game Quidditch World Cup.
2010.
I think Scorsese consulted on that, didn't he?
But okay, so back to the scenes. Back before we get loose. The second scene that I really like is when he's amping himself up to go on stage and he's like, I'm the boss.
Yeah. Oh, at the very end.
I'm the boss, yeah.
Yeah, that's the final shot.
So, and that's something that he used to do all the time. Like in real life, like he would say that I'm the boss before every fight and before a lot of major things that happen in his life.
Have any of you guys seen Boogie Nights?
Yep.
No.
You've seen Raf's seen Boogie Nights. Have you seen Boogie Nights?
No,
Lorna?
not yet. That's on my list.
Okay, well, when you do, like the last scene of that movie is a direct reference to Raging Bull, and it's great. But anywho, yeah, that's a great pick as well.
Yeah, so I can't really choose between those two. It's really tough, and they're kind of similar but different. Like they're kind of the yin and yang to each other. I think. Yeah.
Nice.
Favorite performances.
Oh wait, can I see my other second?
Oh yeah,
go.
Go.
It's like when he's like. Robert De Niro was like asking his brother about like, did you fuck my wife? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
and then he kind of goes up and he starts speaking to his wife and she's in the bathroom and the door comes down. But then it's like when they're like running to the brother's house, I think they start fighting, but the camera moves down to the floor, kind of under the table. You guys remember it? And they're kind of all crawling on the floor.
Yes.
And that's so just like, like, I don't know. I thought it was really animalistic and I thought it was really cool.
Absolutely.
Very primal.
Because you're just like, obviously there's so much fighting in the film, but now this fighting is like,
domestic and
but also just like from a different angle, and it's just like really gritty. I don't know. It's just really sad.
On the way over here, I was reading that every fight scene was only filmed with one camera, so they had to redo a bunch of shots just so they could do it to get each and every angle because they wanted it to look like it was a long fight.
Right. Wow, interesting, fascinating. Who's the newbie now?
I told you.
Yeah.
Making fun of my Harry Potter shit, and then I'm coming with facts.
You come back. You come back, baby.
Yeah, Expelliarmus, your ass motherfucker.
It's Leviosa, not Leviosa.
Okay, so performances for me, I'm just gonna go straight up. Joe Pesci. I thought that was great.
Terrific.
Yeah, terrific. As it's the first time I see him in like not such an asshole character.
Good
Because
guy.
most of the time he's like, wait, you think I'm funny?
Well, like usually, like I'll just chime in now because that was my answer too. Like I think Joe Pesci is phenomenal, and he really surprised me in this movie because, fun fact, this was like his first major theatrical film role. He'd only done like a TV movie about 4 years before this. He was a musician. He was picked because Robert De Niro saw this TV movie he was in. And by this point, he wasn't getting any more roles as an actor. So he was working in an Italian restaurant.
Oh, shit.
In the late 30s, so Robert De Niro calls Scorsese and says, I think this guy should play my brother. They call him up at the restaurant and say, do you want to, play the second lead essentially in this Scorsese film? He's like, yeah, sure. Why not? But he's just fantastic. And I agree, like a lot of people remember him for those really combustible, violent, over-the-top performances like Goodfellas.
Yeah,
but I like it.
Home Alone.
Exactly, 100%. But I like him when he's actually playing the softer, more, even though he does have a big fight scene in this movie, he's like obviously the more cooler tempered of the brothers.
He plays a very good little brother.
And exactly. And he's quiet, and it reminded me of his performance in The Irishman, where he plays again a much more solemn, subdued performance. Yeah, and I think he crushes those notes. So I thought he was phenomenal. Yeah, and you could just see in his eyes how he was sort of thinking about how to control his brother at every scene. Like you could see he was always processing, how do I like stop him from blowing up and ruining this thing that we've got going for us? How can I just get him out there and do what I want? Yeah, that's great.
Lorna?
I mean, obviously the obvious answer is Robert, but I actually did kind of like the wife quite a lot. Like, because I don't think she was an actress beforehand.
Moriarty. She was a model?
Sure, but
Kathy Moriarty.
I just found her performance, like, she didn't really have that many lines, but she still had quite like an impact. And she was always kind of miserable, which I quite liked. Like not miserable, like crying miserable. She always just looked a bit kind of grumpy, and I kind of liked that. And then obviously she kind of erupts in that scene that I was just referring to, and I think that's quite a nice, like, I don't know. I thought it was, her performance. That was quite. Say not mute. Yeah, I don't know. I quite like the wife.
Yeah.
It was very like
also fierceness and a ferociousness about her. Like she kind of like does get him back in turns. Like when she says, "I sucked his dick. I sucked all their dick."
Yeah,
like she kind of like goes at him, and because he knows he's consumed by jealousy and envy. And she knows how to play that card. So she's like, I'm just being. She just wants to be an independent woman. She's like, she loves this man, but she's also like, I want to do my own thing.
And she has like a world wariness despite her years, because she's playing like a 15-year-old at the beginning. I think she was only 18 when she was cast in this film, but she
17.
looks like she could be in her late 20s, even early 30s, and she has that look of someone who's already been disappointed by the world.
Exactly.
Plenty of times.
So, fun fact.
Did we hear yours?
I'm just gonna give it to De Niro. He's phenomenal.
Fun fact. Who do you think Jake LaMotta went to the premiere with?
Was it Vicky, his ex-wife?
His ex-wife at the time,
Wow.
They stayed like almost best friends for their whole life. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
That's why she had such a huge impact in producing this film. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm not sure if she was there when Robert De Niro got the Oscar, but Jake E. was there. Yeah.
Damn. That's crazy. Wow.
All right. So shall we go with favorite quotes?
Yeah.
Does anyone have one?
Sure. I mean, I have two. Can I give two? Would that be all right?
No.
Okay, so the one that I think stands out, says the most in the film is when Jake LaMotta goes up to Sugar Ray Robinson. I think after their second or third fight, he's like, "You didn't get me down, Ray."
Yeah.
And like that just says everything you need to know. Like no matter what he puts himself through, he doesn't go down. Even if he's losing everything, he doesn't go down.
And
that's what matters to him the most.
Even when you lose, you win.
Yeah, exactly. But then also this line, I think this film is actually low-key quite funny, even though it's such a dark and depressing film. But that when Jake LaMotta shows up to his brother's house to beat him up because he thinks that he slept with his wife, you just have the scene of Joe Pesci at the table with his family, and he's just turning to his kid and he says, "If I see you put your hands in that plate one more time, I'm going to stab you with this knife." You hear? And so even though he's meant to be like the chill, like sensible brother, you see like the casual violence that goes on in all of their households. I thought it was, and the kid's just staring there playing with his food. It's so funny.
Yeah, damn it, you stole my one because I wanted to say that you didn't get me down thing, because it's like such a, it's like the line that kind of like it brings him up, but it also brings him down throughout his life. Like, he has a never die attitude, but then also that attitude puts him in jail and lets him lose his wife and his kids,
or like alienates the mob, for example, it's the same reason he won't get he's not as successful as he could be, because even though he's an incredible boxer, he always goes too far as well.
Yeah. I'm gonna go for the monologue that he says at the beginning and at the end, which, if you don't mind, I would like to recite it. Just
20 minutes later.
I know, God.
We can cut this out, right?
Yeah, I think
I won't do the whole thing. I just want to. I just want to do like the little bit, just because I love it so much, and I think
in the accent.
Yeah, and I think it just
with the hand gestures.
Well, he's very nuanced. He's just looking at himself, and can everyone get recording? Great. Wait. Are we ready? Yeah. I'm no Olivier, but if he thought Sugar Ray, he would say that the thing ain't the ring, it's the play. So give me a stage where this bull here can rage, and though I can fight, I'd much rather recite. Now that's entertainment. I just love it. Nice. It's just so good. Perfect. And it like really sums up the tragedy of this man, I think, who is still trying to, just to find his way in life. And, he's fat, he's out of shape, but he still thinks like he can put on a show. It's just, there's just like kind of a misery to it.
That reminds me of the reporter scene at the pool. Oh, another pool. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Pool.
Pretty cool.
Oh, cool. Pool.
Yeah. No, but what you just said, it reminds me, like, he was like getting reported and then they asked Vicky a question. He's like, back to me.
Yeah. He does like front and center. Yeah.
What's your favorite quote?
I don't know. I mean, all of them were pretty like decent.
I mean, it could be stupid as well.
But I was like, I was kind of watching some YouTube videos about the film. And the scene where he's like, did you fuck my wife? Apparently, like, Robert De Niro said, like, did you fuck your mother? But the reaction of the brother is what they used in the film. So I was like, oh, that was kind of cool to like, because obviously just to have an element of surprise. Apparently quite a lot of the filming, they didn't tell other people what was going to go on. So, like, there's one point in the movie where brother has that really horrible fight with
Vincent.
Frank Vincent.
Frank Vincent.
They didn't tell any of the extras that they were going to have a massive fight scene. So pretty much all the reactions of the people around them was kind of real, this like sense of panic and like, and like getting out of the way. And I was like, fuck.
And so then I guess you can't use stunt people then if they're getting everyone's genuine reactions. It must like those actors must have like full on brawled.
Yeah. I was
without
like,
many safety measures.
That reminds me of another scene that's really cool. When
Harry Potter?
Well, yeah. No, when it's the guy.
It's the Harry Potter podcast.
The Philosopher's Stone.
He must not be named.
Well, it's like Tom. Is it Tommy? The big mob, the big mob guy.
Oh, Tom. I think it's Tommy.
It's Tommy, right?
Tommy
or is it
Como.
Ernie?
Yeah, Tommy Como.
Where he sits down Joey and Salvi, and he's like, "You guys," and he like talks to them like little boys. He's like, "You guys are gonna forget this ever happened." And you kind of forget it ever happened until 8 years later when he brings it up.
He brings it out of the blue, and you, I love how they leave it a complete mystery as to like what put that in his head in that moment to ask that question of all of all the days he brings it up. He brings it up that day.
Yeah. Well. Armchair moment, I think.
Armchair moment.
Is there anything you guys would change, or just like a what if? What would it be for you, Ollie?
I mean, I don't know if this would improve the film because maybe the ambiguity is part of what gives it its power. But I thought they could have maybe done with at least one more scene where they sort of explored why the Jake LaMotta character is so paranoid about his wife's fidelity. Because I think they hinted at that there's some sexual dysfunction in their relationship. Like she alludes several times to the fact that they don't have sex a lot, it seems, which also makes sense because I think boxers often are abstaining in the weeks leading up to a fight. But it suggests that, and there's several characters insinuating that he's gay, which again just could be part of the homophobia of the time. But I felt like he was really paranoid about her being unfaithful in a way that we didn't see him with his first wife.
Well, he was with the first wife.
No, I mean, he didn't seem to care too much about what she was doing. He was she was paranoid about what he was doing. She thought she was accusing him of being unfaithful.
Right.
But I wondered if maybe they could have dug into the psychology of that a little bit more. But maybe it's fine as it is. But that's just the only thing I could think of.
Interesting, Because he was known to do that apparently, like throw like pour ice like a jug full of ice into his balls and stuff to cool down. And because back then boxing, you do it like every week. You know, you'd have a fight every week, and so probably if he was going to fight into the lead up of these, like a bunch of these fights, he'd probably not have sex maybe for 3-4 months if he's fighting every single week. You know. So yeah, I don't know if that's like addressed in the movie. Because like, isn't there a part where like she turns him on so much, and then he's like,
he's like, "What are you doing?" And I think he says, "I've got a fight coming up. I can't do that." So but I guess that turns into like not her, maybe Vicky's character not feeling, I don't know, just obviously not being satisfied. But yeah, I found out that what he has is called Madonna complex. Is like before you start seeing a girl, you see her as a virgin, and then afterwards, once you have let's say obtained her, you automatically feel that she's a whore. Because because you've consummated the relationship with her.
Yeah. And that's why he's always like asking his brother and stuff like that.
And that, like the way she shot at the beginning as well often makes her look like the Madonna. So
yeah. And they did get married when she was 16, which is weird.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's
very young.
If that was allowed back in the day.
I think so. Yeah. Maybe. It was like the 40s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the 40s. Yeah.
Raph?
I think maybe having more of an inspection on his relationship with his previous wife, just to get a contrast between, kind of what you're saying. But also, I think this movie is note perfect. So I don't, and it's timed beautifully. I think the running time is pays it justice for a whole arc to happen. I in a way, I would have liked or enjoyed to see more of the later Jake LaMotta when he's out of touch and you really see the fall of grace, and maybe spend more time in prison and the effects that it had on him.
It did feel quite fascinating.
Right, that felt like that segment was a bit rushed. But apart from that, no. I thought it was just a masterpiece.
Cool.
Yeah, I feel like if it was done now, it would be like a 3-hour movie.
Yeah, maybe. It would have been The Irishman. Like 4 hours long.
Which might have been a little bit too much, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Because I kind of thought the same. I thought like, so I feel like near the end of the movie, I was ever so slightly kind of getting a bit like out of it, in and out. And suddenly I was like, wait, he's like a stand-up comedian? I was like, when the hell did this come in? Kind of, and it felt a wee bit like, oh, okay. So yeah, I think maybe the end, if it had been a wee bit more descriptive. But again, I think if it had been longer, I think it would have been a bit too much.
Dragged.
Yeah. So I think it was a good running time.
Yeah.
I think if it was any longer, there would be a lot of exposition or like flashbacks to maybe when he was a kid.
And also, it's quite a bleak film as well. Like it's not the most pleasant space to be in.
It's like, let me show you a shitty time in his childhood. And here's another shitty time in this part.
That's why like 2 hours is digestible. I think anything longer is like, okay, this is overbearing now.
I was gonna go maybe with a different thing, coming from like a very big Harry Potter. I mean,
where were the snitches?
Oh God.
The Death Eaters didn't come.
No, but as a
have you guys done Harry Potter on this podcast?
No. I think it's the first time like we make fun of my fandom. As a big boxing fan, as someone who's like watched a lot of Sugar Ray Robinson and his fights, because he's actually the greatest of all time. He's won the most fights ever, I believe, and he was Muhammad Ali's favorite boxer. And I think they did a huge disservice to the legacy of Sugar Ray Robinson, because in real life he was actually a more handsome man, and they made him look like very vicious in the film. They didn't, not accurate, and then just the fight scenes were equally as brilliant as they were shit. The boxing didn't really look nice.
But I think the whole film wasn't really about boxing.
Yeah, for sure. But I think if you're gonna go into the lives of Jake and Vicky and do all of that, you should go into the life at least a little bit, or at least have some sort of similarity to the actual biggest foe you've had in your boxing career. You know, because Sugar Ray Robinson beat him 5 out of 6 times. Yeah. Let's put it that. Okay, maybe that third time where he did go to the army and whatever. But Sugar Ray Robinson is known to be the best to have ever lived.
But you know what's interesting was that all of the boxing scenes, apart from the one where he deliberately takes a fall, I thought they were edited and shot to look like Jake was the best. Because it always showed him getting in the biggest blows and really going to town on his opponents, even though he was often named. He wasn't picked as the winner at the end. Yeah. And it felt that way with a lot of his Sugar Ray Robinson fights. It looked like he was getting one over on Sugar Ray, but then they'd give it to Sugar Ray.
Yeah, I mean, I guess historically, like, there might be a few moments, like maybe from the point of view of Jake LaMotta's camp, that they should have won the fight, or like, you know, oh, he's going to go to the war. You know,
Sugar Ray was more likable than Jake LaMotta. I think that
maybe
they do like sort of thread that idea that Jake LaMotta didn't get as far as head as he should have because he was so considered to be so unlikable or unpalatable by whoever were the gatekeepers in the boxing world.
Yeah. Basically what I'm saying is, like, I would have preferred another actor to have played the role of Sugar Ray, and they could have done a better job getting someone that looked like the real person, like they did with Jake, you know. It's because that's the thing. Boxing is as much a savage sport as it is respecting your opponent, and to respect your opponent, you have to do that, I think, in the movie as well.
Yeah. Good point.
So that's what I would change. But it's very superficial. Just as a boxing fan. Yeah. But yeah, let's get to the bonus question.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I
forgot about that, to be honest.
So I was kind of struggling. Yeah, I was kind of struggling with this one. I wasn't exactly sure how to ask this question, right? Because like I even tried with Lorna this morning. I was like, do you want to know like what the bonus question is? And I like try to say it and it just didn't.
I was like, shit.
It did not land at all.
Good. I'm glad you said it to Lorna first.
Which house in Hogwarts do you think Jake LaMotta would? Well,
it was a very.
You look so nervous right now.
It was a very.
Just say your question.
No, they're laughing. Everyone's laughing. Yeah, so the first question is well, it's just one question. You guys done?
Get it out.
Yeah. I'm not even started yet. But,
I'm good.
Yeah?
No, it's just too funny. Which house?
All right. So the question is basically, if you were to have like been a boxer or kind of like a sport like that, like would you go all out? Like, do you think you'd be the type of person that would go all out and like try and like go crazy like that, where they show like the way they show it in a lot of boxing films? You know, they don't show the boxer.
They're called like what, like a swarmer or a slugger, or isn't that the term, or a bully?
Kind of like that, but I mean, like with a lot of boxing films, they're like, yeah, we got to go all out, but they never really show another side to like the boxer who's, you know, just trying to make money and support his family and is just a genuine dude, you know, or a genuine woman, or so like if you were in that kind of state, would you push yourself to the point of, I don't know, over the edge? Like if you were to put yourself into the shoes of a boxer that, I don't know. I tried to come at this like it's hard because I wanted to ask a boxing question, but I don't think any of you
would you if you were going to be a boxer, would you go into it because you want to be the greatest of all time?
Yeah,
or do you want to be like, I just want to sort of make a living?
Let's use yours.
Your question was
reframe.
Well, after all you shat on me like for the 15 seconds before.
Sorry.
I mean, I don't like violence. So for me, it's boxing and I've done Muay Thai before. And I think as a discipline, it's good. But I just don't like the world of boxing and the world of MMA because I feel like it's so violent, patriarchal, and
well, not MMA. Well, MMA has done a lot for female sports.
Yeah, but the whole deal of like
fighting.
Yeah, but even before
like
the
fight.
You
think of that as like a naturally, innately masculine thing. Like the idea of...
But also just violent. Like like the pre-fights, you know, when they talk about each other like, tomorrow in the ring, I'm going to... and I know that's all for show and for entertainment, but I'm like, so unnecessary. Like, I feel like it's so unnecessarily like almost abusive or violent. So I will answer this question, but I just don't know how. And now I sound like Christopher Walken.
Because you're talking.
Okay, because I'm talking. I think I would come at it with a lot of respect, and I'd be the kind of fighter who tries to shake the person's hands, and even after, if I beat him, I'd go up to him and thank him for the fight,
like an Ali.
Yeah, essentially, and have
send some flowers as well.
Yeah, send some flowers. No taunting, no bulliness, no, because I think it can be a respected art form, and it can be an art form, which is why it's called like a martial art, because if you give it the respect that it deserves, whereas if you come at it with like this kind of masculine, violent energy, and you're all like, I'm the best and I'm the strongest, and I'm going to beat you. And it's like, that's where it's like, you're robbing it from what it is supposed to be, which is like, I don't know, an art form. So I'd come at it with love and respect.
Yeah. Lorna?
I mean, I don't know, like, even when we were watching it, when we were watching it last night, I was like, God, it's fucking mad that, like, I've never watched boxing. So watching this film, I was like, this is horrific.
Yeah.
Still mad that we still have boxing here today.
It's
and
like gladiatorship,
like, it just seems so, like, I don't know. And obviously, you were saying last night that rules obviously have changed and it's much safer now. But I'm still like, at the end of the day, you're just fighting each other. Yeah. And it's just mad that people go and watch fighting.
The history of boxing is very, very interesting. Like, it started in the UK, and it was a way to like just settle things. And you had to have rules, or people would kill each other. And it moved from that into a sport, and then
entertainment, which I find kind of.
I mean, I would say like violence, and that is also an equal part of like just of humanity.
Sure,
and it's a part of everyone, And just the thing about boxing that I don't like is that there's a lot of corruption. And from the early stages, it was the mob. And then now it's just like a bunch of fighters who just choose.
Like Jake Paul.
Like shit. Yeah, dude. Jake Paul or whatever.
I mean, I was just reading today that there's rumors of, there's like a leaked document that has led some people to believe that fight between Jake Paul and Tyson Fury might be staged. Or not staged, or rigged.
Yeah, it's not surprising, you know?
Of course.
So that's the ugly side to me, you know? Like, if you respect the sport and you can be extravagant, you could be like a Paul Pogba or a James Milner,
There it is.
Yeah, you could, there's so many different types. I guess if I were to be a fighter, it's not a boxer, but what's that movie? With Tom Hardy and the MMA Warrior. So his brother, who, not Tom Hardy,
Joel Edgerton.
Yeah, I'd be that character. Like that kind of guy.
Yeah, for the family, for their, very respectable.
Nice.
Ollie?
Hufflepuff.
Shit, I just remembered. I didn't tell you. I hope you've listened to enough podcasts to know. But when we do our ratings, we do it with a little totem thing. And we rate it from the movie.
We'll go first, and then you have time to...
Well, I'll just quickly, to answer your question. I mean... again, I don't really have any affinity for boxing, either as a spectator or a participant. I've never boxed, and I don't really like watching boxing. But I don't know if I'm like a be the greatest of all time kind of mentality. Like, I'm ambitious, I think, and I do have a competitive spirit. But that's never the reason I get into anything. I never believe I could be the greatest at anything. Frankly, my ego is not that strong. So I don't think I'd be like I'm a champ kind of person. If I wanted to box, I'd be like, let's just stay alive and make a good living. And I just don't want to have brain damage by the time I'm 35. That's it, pretty much.
Well, Jake lived until like he was 96. He died like 5 years ago.
Which is unbelievable. The world is unfair.
Yeah. All right. So shall we move to ratings?
Yes.
Who wants to go first?
Yeah, I can go first. I will give it 10 Patronus charms out of 10.
Okay, enough.
Sensitive.
I mean, it's getting old now.
Not for us. What is Jake's Patronus?
I swear to God, if people start...
It's a bull.
I can check out the drop-off statistics.
No, okay, I'll be serious. I will... I'll give it 10... I'll give it 10 boxing gloves out of 10. Just go simple.
I would give it 10 fucks.
Yeah. 10 fucks.
A lot of fucks in this movie.
A lot of fucks in this movie.
I'm going to give it 10 blood-soaked sponges out of 10.
Yes.
Oh, could this be our first ever?
I don't think so.
Oh!
Yeah. No, there was just like a lot of issues with the sound for me that I was just like,
yeah, but
why
that's
is
probably
this?
not their fault though. I think that was literally just
The
because
sound
not
was
being
like one of the best parts as well.
No,
What are you
no,
talking
but
about?
we were talking about it last
Did it get
night, and I think
nominated as well?
like
Won for sound.
no, I think it's maybe Amazon's fault.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Oh,
I don't
you
know if
rented
it's
off
Amazon.
I think it's
Amazon.
more like it's not
I
being
see.
mastered,
Oh,
mixed
yeah.
properly. But yeah, the
Maybe.
sound was really cool.
There was
like,
bits of it that I was like, why is like his mouth moving, but
it's
there's
just
no
like
sound?
quite muffled.
Oh, like
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
poor,
Yeah, it
I
wasn't
think it's
the
just like
best sound.
old.
bad ADR. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So
But-
I've heard about that though. I've heard about Amazon some of their stream.
Really? I thought that was Netflix.
Because
that
they put
had the bad
subtitles
one.
on, but the subtitles were like out of sync.
They
And I
were
was just
late.
a bit
Yeah,
like,
that
yeah.
saying-
that does happen with Amazon.
And it
They
was
give
a
you
bit-
bad
money
with
to
that.
Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a bit, yeah, that was. But the sound itself, though, we didn't even talk about the sound that much. The sound was really
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
it was,
And
nom-
then-
it was,
yeah.
it was
What stood out
nominated
to
as
me.
well.
I swear
yeah,
there was
for-
like train noises. Like when
Yeah,
they're-
you
I feel like you kind of everyone heard something different.
that's
And
like
very
very New York.
whistling, and sometimes they'd cut out the sound of the crowd
the
when they
Bronx.
were fighting
that
as
was
well.
cool.
Because like in the Bronx, right, they have that above.
Yeah, they have the
sort of
overground.
overground or whatever it's called.
Mm.
And that's just, it's like a New York noise, right? The burp,
Yeah.
or like
Yeah.
the taxis and stuff.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, I have a fun fact.
Oh, what is it?
Since I'm from editing, I obviously did some research on Thelma, and obviously she's done like loads of
Legend of
all
the
of the
Craft.
movies.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
But it was kind of interesting actually, because like you know the flashback scenes in the film.
Mm.
They're not flashbacks, sorry, they're flash forwards technically, because it's kind of like a montage scene of like people getting married and like the kind of everyone
Like the
having
home,
kids and
the
stuff.
home,
Yeah.
home video footage.
So they like literally replicated his own home family footage
Yeah.
growing up.
Wow.
But I mean, I can't remember it, but I think it was in color in the film.
Yes, it was.
Yeah,
That
it
was a
in colour,
really
which I
interesting
didn't really
choice.
notice it, and I was like,
That is so fascinating.
But then, like, they wanted it to look like home footage, so the DOP on the film refused to shoot it because he was like, "I'm just going to make it to look too nice."
yeah.
And Scorsese tried to do it, but he was like, "I'm making it too nice." So I think they got like runners or something on set to film it all to make it look shit.
So that it wouldn't have like good mise en scene.
Yeah.
So it actually looked like someone shooting their own home
Yeah.
footage. Yeah.
And then like
Mise en
Martin
scene,
Scorsese
yes.
then would go in after that and like scratch it and kind of make it look a bit shit and like age it and all that kind of stuff. But apparently like Thelma, the editor, was going to like movie theaters to make sure that it was like running well, all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
And she went to the projectionist and he was like taking out the roll, being like, "Oh, there's some random shit footage in your film." And she was like, "No. And he was like trying to like splice it out. And she was like, "No, it's part of the film." And I was like, damn. So she was like, "Oh yeah, like the last editor is always a projectionist back in the day." And I was like,
Interesting.
Oh,
Pretty
so
cool.
That's
Yeah,
really
That
interesting.
is interesting.
But
Wow,
yeah.
Now you
fascinating.
just press play on.
Yeah.
on like a,
because I was
on
like,
Amazon.
oh, now when you
Digital
have like
projector.
flashbacks or home footage, obviously you just slap a filter on it. Back in the day, they actually had to make it look
Yeah.
shit. And I was like,
I love that. That's one of my pet peeves. Whenever like they show like home footage or like a webcam footage in like a movie, and it looks like it was shot on professional cameras rather than on a web. Like they always looks like they've just digitally slapped on like footage
lens.
onto a laptop screen. Or like when someone's shooting something on their iPhone, it looks like it was shot with a Arial Alexa or something.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. You're
that
like,
is
what?
such a bug. I'm like, why not just use an iPhone?
Yeah.
Everyone's got one. You can just shoot it on set so
But you know
easily.
what, also,
I
this
know it
is
makes
like-
it hard for maybe for some editors. I don't know.
but I mean, this is totally not what you're talking about. But what really pisses me off in films is holograms and how they
Yes.
always make them look shit.
Yeah.
But I'm like, clearly you're advanced at this part of sci-fi or whatever in this world, that these holograms should be like legit.
Yeah,
And they're always
Yeah.
shit. Like in Star Wars, they're always shit.
Like
and I'm just
glitching.
like, why?
Well, that's a whole.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, that's
What's your rating, Jabril? Sorry, we completely
Oh,
took
sorry.
Yeah. What's your rating?
stole your thunder there.
It
don't
is
care.
9 taxi head slams out of 10.
Oh,
nice. I'm gonna 9 out of 10. Just because of there were a few
Just 'cause.
things that were a little off to me that I don't think it's a perfect movie.
Mm.
Yeah.
No.
But 9 out of 10. So on that note, thanks for coming, Lorna,
Yeah,
on this
thank you so much.
Thank you.
episode. This was really cool. This was really
was
awesome.
fun.
Yeah.
And I think the first like live, like in-person guest that is actually in the movie industry and like film industry.
Yeah.
100%.
I like was real. I was like, who the fuck is it? That's been
All
honest.
the other ones were Chat GPT.
It's
Yeah, so thank you for coming on the show. Thank you, as usual, Ollie and Raph, for being here. This is the first movie. The next one is going to be $1 Million Baby.
Hey.
And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy it. And thank you. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, give us those 5 stars rating. And expecto patronum!
Is that the Baltimore law?
I'm never coming back.
Bye. Adios, friends.
Run.
Bye.